God, in his infinite wisdom and love, granted humanity the gift of free will. This means we have the freedom to choose our own paths, to make our own decisions, even if those choices lead us away from him. He does not force us to love him or obey his commandments. Why would God allow such freedom? Because love, by its very nature, must be freely given. He desires a genuine relationship with us, one built on love and trust, not coercion. Imagine a world where love was forced. It would be a hollow and meaningless existence. True love requires choice. God, in his fairness, allows us to choose him or reject him. He allows us to experience the consequences of our actions, both good and bad. This freedom, however, is not a license to sin. God, in his mercy, provides guidance and protection, always ready to forgive and welcome us back when we stray. The story of Adam and Eve illustrates the dangers of pride and disobedience. Tempted by the serpent, they chose to disobey God's command, seeking knowledge that was not theirs to possess. This act, rooted in pride, led to their expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Pride often blinds us to truth, leading us to believe we know better than God. We become susceptible to the devil's whispers, questioning God's goodness and doubting his plan. This self-righteousness creates distance between us and our Creator. We see this pattern repeated throughout history and even in our own lives. We prioritize our desires above God's will, placing ourselves on a pedestal of self-importance. This pride makes us vulnerable to the devil's attacks, who preys on our weaknesses and insecurities. However, God, in his infinite mercy, does not abandon us to our pride. He offers a path back to him through humility, repentance, and acceptance of his grace. Why does God allow the devil to tempt and attack us? It is not because he is indifferent to our suffering, but rather because he understands that trials can refine and strengthen our faith. God uses these challenges to draw us closer to him, to help us grow in wisdom and resilience. He allows us to face trials that are within our capacity to overcome, never abandoning us to despair. Think of it like a loving parent allowing their child to stumble and fall so they can learn to walk. God allows us to experience the consequences of our choices and the reality of spiritual warfare, but he never leaves us to fight alone. He provides us with the tools we need to overcome: his word, prayer, and the support of our fellow believers. He promises to never give us more than we can handle, always offering a way out, a path towards victory. When we succumb to temptation and fall short of God's glory, he offers us forgiveness and redemption. Through confession and repentance, we can find healing and restoration. Confession is acknowledging our mistakes, admitting our need for God's forgiveness. Repentance is turning away from sin and choosing to follow God's path. It is through these acts of humility that we break free from the devil's grip. God's forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but rather an expression of his boundless love and mercy. He desires our wholeness and offers us a way back into a right relationship with him. Remember, the devil's attacks are not the end of the story. Through faith in Jesus Christ, we have access to God's power and victory. We are more than conquerors through him who loves us.